my first career as an orthopedic surgeon, and this is sort of one opportunity for a physician to use his medical knowledge for evil instead of good.
Mark and I went to Tulane University together, and Mark was pre-med, and I was trying to decide what I wanted to do. I had contemplated film school for a while and then decided to go the lawyer route. It was a pretty interesting collaboration.
We were talking about all the breakthroughs that the technology of the internet has led to. You can get information, at the click of a button. It's a place of great wonder, but also a place of possible evil. And we see that on the news all the time. So we decided to craft a story around that notion.
He's messing with us. He wanted us to find this.
Mark and I met with a couple people that had worked in the cybercrime fighting area, and our biggest concern was, is it believable that you would not be able to find the website? And, all of the people that we talked to did say that there is the possibility that that technology, exists. And I think we kind of, after talking to some people in the FBI, realized, okay, in the real world, it's not sort of James Bondish. It's more, this is the government. We have old computers, and we're making the best of what we have, but it's not quite that high tech. And I think that helped add some realism to the story.
The murders in the script are particularly gruesome, but they kind of parallel and reflect what's going on the news every day.
In the movie, there's obviously the element that by watching you're contributing, and I do think that that's an important message, but I also think that, people are human, and, they are going to be curious, and, that's sort of the dilemma of both the movie and probably real life as well.
Well, if that counter is accurate, the public would seem to agree. They're tuning in at an alarming rate.
Clint Culpepper, the president of Screen Gems, brought it to my attention, and he asked me to take a look at it and see if we wanted to do it. Gary Lucchese and our producing team, we do everything together. In this particular project, our biggest decision was who should we bring in to rewrite the script. And we've had great experiences with Allison Burnett.
So we brought Allison on, and he knocked it out of the park. He figured out a backstory for the criminal, and he really enhanced the role that Diane Lane ended up playing. Once we had that script, we were able to cast it and put it together relatively quickly.
Actually, I got a call one day from Gary Lucchese, and he said, I'm going to send you something, and it's really outside the box of what you normally do, but I just have a feeling about this, and he sent it over. And I was really pleased to get it because it was such a dark, edgy, interesting script. And I did my pitch, and I said everything I wanted to do, and everybody was very happy. And then the head of the studio said, the Tom and Gary think you're a really smart guy, so you can prove it by answering one question. You tell me why this guy kills people on the internet. There's 1,000 other ways to kill them. Why does he kill them in this way? And I said, I had this idea in the shower this morning, and it hit me why Owen kills in the way he does, and why he uses the internet, and why he is so angry and so much rage at the American public that he would put them in the position to being his accomplice. And then when I got done, there was like a big pause, and he said, okay, don't screw it up, and they gave me the job.
Reilly had a son, Owen. He was a brilliant kid, but he was disturbed, he was troubled, he was withdrawn. Owen took his father's suicide very hard.
We gave Joseph a backstory, but we really tied it all together with all the victims. I thought that was important. I wanted it to be connected and not to be random. So we worked on that, and the other thing for me was important. It was to develop a harsh criticism of the internet, which reflects my views. So that was something we wanted to work on.
In the script that I began with, there were a few versions which had different villains in each one, but the one thing that stayed pretty much the same was that somebody was killing people on the internet. The ways that they were killing them is similar to the ways they kill them in the movie now, but who that killer was and why he was killing in this particular way was never answered, and why he was killing these people was never answered.
If no one was watching right now, you'd just be sitting in water.
So one of the things I ended up doing was answering those questions, which was part of what they wanted that from me, and they really wanted me to work on the character of Marsh and give her a sort of richer home life with her daughter. And I added the character of the mother.
Did you get it? Yes, I did! Oh my God, I'm so proud of you!
Before I handed it in, I was absolutely terrified because I had really changed a lot, and I really didn't know how they were going to accept some of the twists and turns. And I knew that it went very far, and it was pretty gruesome. And I knew that a lot of people I love and respect were not going to be able to sit through this movie.
Action!
When we had the script, then we had to figure out who should be the director and who should be the actor.
Okay.
Greg and Gary Lucchese worked together on Primal Fear and had a good relationship. This essentially is a crime thriller, and he was adept at that. His father was an FBI agent, so I thought all that together was a good combination.
Gary Lucchese from Lakeshore called me and said, I got a movie for you and Greg, and read it right away.
And action. Last night around 11, the site went down. I'd hoped forever. And then a few hours ago, this.
I read it and went, this is fun, and I've never done one of these. Greg was a great choice for this movie because he really gets into detail and really gets into realism. And if you're going to do a movie about cyber detectives, you better know your cyber.
The site's Russian name server, it uses a low TTL, so your computer constantly queries the name server's record, and that's how it gives you a new address so consistently.
I remember sending him the screenplay and saying, I've got something for you, and I think you might really like it. And he came back and he responded to it.
Greg Hollett was a great choice for this movie because he has a reputation for doing A-list thrillers that have attracted some incredible actors who have given really memorable performances. You want those names, and to attract that, you want to hire a guy that does A-list Hollywood movies.
The role that Diane is playing is sort of the prototypical big male movie star, leading man kind of role, but it's now Diane Lane instead of Harrison or Mel Gibson or Kevin Costner or somebody like that of a few years ago.
In action. I was involved with another project for Lakeshore, and I get a call from Gary Lucchese, and he said, we've got something else that we think you might be interested in. And I read it, and I'm going, wow, this is really intriguing.
How much more do you need?
What we have so far is one dead cat and a man who may or may not be in danger of his life.
That's today. You think this is it? It's just the beginning.
It hadn't been done in a movie before, and as far as I know, it wasn't being done anywhere, but just as importantly, it had some things going on in it, and it was taking a look at a world and the efforts of crime fighters to deal with it that I found to be just sort of irresistible.
Got it. Okay, got it.
And worth spending some serious time diving into.
Now, he's stealing my financial data and all my passwords.
Uh-oh.
Which I just happen to have conveniently gathered in a file called Passwords.
Nice touch.
We had full cooperation of the FBI, which was critical, both on the national level in the Los Angeles office and in Portland. So that from the cyber crimes unit, they vetted everything that we were doing.
There was a fellow who's just left the FBI by the name of E.J. Hilbert, who was our key advisor, but he was with the FBI throughout. We met with the Portland field office, and there was a woman there, FBI Jane, and she helped us, and she interacted with Diane Lane and showed her how she did things and how she would behave, and they were very accommodating, very helpful, very supportive.
He's accessing these machines so quickly. He's got to be running his own botnet. I mean, we are black holing these IPs, but every time we shut one down, a new mirror pops up.
They vetted the script, helped with some of the technical details, because one of the things that we were very much focused on was how does one create a truly untraceable site and a site that can't be shut down. So they helped make sure that we got the technology right in achieving this.
I spoke to the father of sort of modern FBI profiling, Howard Teton, and Jim Greenleaf. Jim pretty much consulted on everything else, not cyber stuff, but the procedure. You know, does she carry her gun? Where does she put it? How do they work? What are the offices like? All that stuff. And I talked to a guy named Christopher Martin, who's sort of a genius computer guy, and a guy named Ben Fox, who had worked at Yahoo. So they consulted on all things cyber.
Hello, Jennifer.
Hacking into the North Star system was an idea that came out of my discussions with Ben. And then it was through them that I said, is there a way that, you know, the killer could call and change his voice? Because I knew that would be great. And they said, oh, sure, get a spoof card.
Griffin Dowd?
Hi, it's Melanie.
So I looked into spoof cards, and I find out that for $20, anybody can buy a card, change their voice, and the call becomes untraceable.
What can I say? I would have to agree. I'm a total catch.
What I think our actors found unique about the real FBI that they met with is how devoted they are to law enforcement and how devoted they are to what they do to protect us. We want to be as real as possible to show them the respect for what they do.
Oh, he's registered for 3 handguns and 2 assault rifles.
Well, that's your guy.
There's a whole population of FBI agents, men and women, who are trained specifically to navigate the universe of the internet and chase the bad guys down. something that most people don't know about. And we began to make friends with and some people in it who would be really helpful to us all the way through the making of the movie. And I just marveled at the dedication and the knowledge of the people on this particular job. And also, as is the case in this movie, you begin to realize it's a no-win situation. The world of the internet is moving so quickly.
And action.
In the original script that the guys had written, one of the victims died by being eaten by African ants. I took and made that person who dies Griffin. And so to bring it home to our heroine.
It's Griffin.
At the 11th hour, we found out that something else had been done once on TV by coincidence that involved these killer army ants. So we all got in a room and tried to think of other ways that we could slaughter and torture poor Griffin. It was the last change we made was adding a new way of dying.
She was amazing. She looked exactly like her photo.
You'll never see her again.
How do you know?
Because you look nothing like yours.
Oh.
I probably got the idea for Griffin doing online dating because I've done it myself. And what's strange is that I met my girlfriend online and it worked out. And now we have a child. So I have only good feelings about the way that it works because it's worked so well for so many people I know.
So our guy hacked his account and used it to start the thread.
Yeah.
Let's go after the originating IP.
This is really about a look into a world that's camp run amok. And then we're trying our best to control it, and which is the consequences if we don't, or we don't stay even with it, are potentially pretty catastrophic.
I think it truly is a cautionary tale because as technology is growing and changing at a really rapid rate that we can barely keep up with.
This is just what he wants. Anything you say will only promote the site.
I understand that, but what would you prefer that I do?
If there were a site today where we knew someone was dying on the internet and that our watching it would just be a slight increment in the speed at which he would die, I think a lot of people would watch. And if the FBI said, don't watch, this is real, this person's dying, they just have to watch.
The numbers, they just exploded.
So I really think that it's incredibly relevant to our culture, and it's really meant to be a rather stern indictment, and ideally to get people to question it a little bit and question who they are and what effect these images have on them.
So fast this time. It's word of mouth, I guess.
I think Untraceable is very, very contemporary in its use of computer crime. This is a movie that suggests that real crime is out there being committed that way. Now, the second component that the movie really involves is it involves the interactive use by the public, who are sort of voyeurs, if you will.
That was his real hobby, was pulling the sick shit off the net and then posting it on shock video sites.
We also know there's an incredible thirst and lust for blood and horror on the internet. You can see virtually anything. And in my research, the things I saw were unspeakable.
Their desire to see something bad happen to somebody else overcomes them, and basic courtesy. In other words, that's human nature, an example of that. And then the technology today can create a much bigger problem. So that's how I wanted it to begin.
OnStar operator Tina. Good morning, Ms. Marsh. How can I assist you?
The first indication of that, what I wanted to show, was the traffic jam that Diane Lane finds herself in. Each person that gets to the accident slows down and maybe even stops to gape at it. Irrespective of the fact that they have been delayed maybe 30 minutes or an hour in the traffic jam, and that they're doing to the rest of the people what they were objecting to all the way along.
Well, if that counter is accurate, the public would seem to agree. They're tuning in at an alarming rate.
I'm ashamed to admit it, but I'm fairly sure that I would log on to Kill With Me. And I'm also fairly sure that after I witnessed it, I would feel pretty lousy about myself, and I would tell my friends not to bother. There's some part of me that thinks that I just sort of need to stay open to whatever experience. I've seen things on the internet that I cannot even believe I've seen. They're horrific. And I just feel like, you know what, if I had never done that and seen the crap I've seen, I might never have had the idea to do in the ways that I contributed to this movie.
What we're indicating is that people, knowing that their participation as voyeurs would cause somebody's death, would still watch. So intellectually, it's harsh. Very harsh, I think. The internet is a fantastic tool, and I understand the benefits of it. But it also creates evil. It allows this idea of anonymity and no witnesses to your actions, which I think are really a problem for society.